Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you so much for checking out another brand new episode. And if you've been following along, I made a little post the other day. Big thank you. We just hit 9 years of Rock Paper Podcast, and it's pretty wild. It's crazy to think about that it's been that long, and we're still going strong. We got some bunch of new episodes recorded and on the way, and thank you for being here with me still, and all the continued support. Anybody that's bought a shirt or told a friend about the show or come out to any of the events, I appreciate you all. And so it's a big thank you to you and all your continued support of this show. Got a good one for you today. Just got the chance to sit down with Alan Shawgo. You may know him from some of his work with the guys over at Fivefold. He's been their photographer, and he's also shot some music videos for them. And but you may have seen him around in various concert pits, taking pictures and things. But you're going to get to know a little bit more about his story, and we talk about his podcast, To the West and Back, and had a lot of fun hanging out, and hope you enjoy it. I do want to remind you, as always, Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Friendship Brewing Company out here in Wentzville, Missouri, serving up all your craft beer needs. With over 25 rotating taps, they're sure to get something just right for you. And if you missed the announcement, they got some soft opening weekends happening at their brand new location in Flint Hill, Missouri. And leading up to July 29th is their big grand opening celebration. So mark that on your calendar and come out and celebrate Friendship Brewing Company with us. Big week happening out there, though. You got on Thursday nights at the Wentzville location. You got your Singo Bingo. On Friday, Denver Wade Trent on June 2nd. And Saturday, June 3rd, Jeff Waltshauser. And out at the Flint Hill location, Friday, June 2nd, is Buddy and Q. And then on Saturday, June 3rd, in Flint Hill is Josh Littig. You can find full concert calendar, beer menu, food menu, and everything else at friendshipbrewingcompany.com. Be sure to follow along with them on your Facebook and Instagram for more info. And again, come out and grab a beer, some live music. You got all kinds of delicious food, burgers and nachos and flatbread pizzas and pretzels and all kinds of tasty eats. And come out and check out the brand new location in Flint Hill, Missouri. Again, friendshipbrewingcompany.com for all the info. And if you need anything from me, you can always find me at rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the socials. Email me at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you all. And with that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy a brand new episode with Alan Shawgo.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah, that's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Alan Shawgo, and you are listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Scissors beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats scissors, Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with Alan Shawgo.
welcome to the show, man.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Yeah, thank you for being here.
I'm stoked.
This is always some of my favorite ones. Like, I mean, I love hanging out with my buddies. People that repeat guests or people that I know a lot about because I can kind of queue up different stories. But you are always a person that's been around for the last several years. We've run into each other at numerous events and stuff, but we never really had this opportunity, to sit down and talk a lot. It's typically at a concert or we're working or whatever else is going on. So these are like fun for me, like to sit down, no other distractions. We can just hang out and see what happens, talk about everything you're a part of, and so thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, I feel like we always kind of talk at shows and stuff like that, but this will be a cool opportunity to kind of get to know each other and
definitely
really dive into some cool stories. So.
Yeah. So you, anybody that doesn't know Shawgo, you typically have a camera, probably.
I do always have a camera.
Yeah. So you doing a lot of photography, and you do a little film work. You've stepped into making music video stuff too, and different things. So we're going to talk all about your side of the business, and you also have your own podcast. So we'll talk about that too, I'm sure.
I'm excited.
But I guess tell me. Let's start towards the beginning of this story. This is, but you didn't grow up in St. Louis, did you?
I grew up south of St. Louis in Festus, Missouri, on our family farm, which was pretty cool. So. But yeah, I've always loved coming to St. Louis. That's about a 45-minute drive, so it's still close enough, but not right in St. Louis.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can still I don't know. I always just kind of lump it together. Like, I know it's probably not like if you're properly from St. Louis, like you probably don't like people doing that. But same kind of thing for me. I'm about 40 miles west in Wentzville, and it's but I always consider, St. Louis is my nearest city.
Yeah, I would say St. Louis because it's easier to explain.
Right,
people
for sure.
Oh, okay, cool, sweet.
I mean, whenever, especially years ago, now it's much more developed and everybody it's a lot more people know about it now. But when I was growing up, nobody knew Wentzville, so it was it's just a lot easier to say St. Louis. Yeah. So at least you get an idea, on a map, hey, somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So yeah, I've listened to a ton of the podcast work. Last night, just getting ready for this, and you said a 400-acre farm.
Yep. We had a farm down there, so it was kind of cool. I got to do the the farm thing, and baling hay, and working with the cows and stuff like that. But ultimately, I was I want to go to school and get away from that kind of thing. But I always loved the outdoors and stuff like that. So I kind of got my spark for photography being on a farm, because there's always cool things to take photos of, good sunsets and stuff. So that was kind of where everything started for me.
Yeah, I'd love to have something like that. That's,
I know. I kind of at this point now, I'm ooh, I want to go back to live in the woods, away from a lot of people.
Yeah, and that sounds fantastic. Just having that little getaway for sure. So yeah, you I guess tell me about growing up at home. How was your house? What you got, your parents, and you an only child? Or
it was kind of cool. So my grandparents live on the property, and so do my aunt and uncles. So kind of the whole family was in one spot. Like I said, that's kind of where I got all the photography started. My dad had a photography business back in the day up in Staunton, Illinois, a film photography business. So he did a lot of weddings. So in high school, he was my art teacher. So he would always, send me on assignments for the school to do photos and stuff like that around for the yearbook and the newspaper and things like that. And I was oh, I hate this. But the photos always turned out pretty good. And I was that's kind of cool. So I took a small little camera to college with me. And that's kind of where it all started. And that's where I met one of my best friends, Wes, and he was really into photography. Yeah. And we would kind of go around, our school up in Jacksonville, Illinois. There wasn't a lot to do in the town, so we'd kind of just drive around the countryside taking photos, and that's really where we got all into photography and video. And I was ooh, this is pretty cool. I want to do this all the time now.
So at first you didn't, it was just this is something Dad does, and then you weren't really into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I was ooh, actually this is pretty sweet. Right. And then I started taking photos around my college campus, and it kind of just took off from there. And then everybody started asking me to do photo shoots around school. So I was this is crazy. This is fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I admire what you do and photography in general. I always kind of, had this idea about it, like that I wanted to learn and pursue it more. I was doing a lot of concert photography. I mean, if you want to call it quote unquote photography, I'm not, I was, it was mostly a point and shoot and, kind of thing. And, it was just, was all I had at the time. And I never really had any kind of proper equipment or knew anything about what I was doing. I was just trying to capture moments. And, but I had these friends, playing music, same reason I started doing the podcast. And I was like, but a lot of these shows I was going to, there was nobody there shooting the show or anything. And so, but I wanted I was going to so many great things that I wanted to remember and capture. And, so I started kind of doing a little bit of that. And, most of them were pretty terrible photos because, just like shutter speed and stuff or whatever, they're all blurry and different things. And so I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying. And, but I do appreciate there was we had, Ink Spot block party I used to go to every year out there in Troy, and Big Dave, he was a friend of mine, and he gave me VIP, pit pass thing so I could get up in the photo pit area and take photo. I was like, I had no business being up there, but it was cool that he gave me the opportunity just because he knew I was a super fan and stuff like that. So it was cool that people did give me opportunities, even though they weren't deserved, but I had fun doing it. And I've always wanted to pursue it more, actually get proper equipment and actually challenge myself to learn a little bit more about the business. Yeah,
I think that's the beautiful thing about photography too, is that even if the photos aren't well composed or whatever like that, it's still, you're capturing a moment that you thought was really cool and that you wanted to preserve. So I love that aspect of photography, thinking about those moments that'll never happen again, but you kind of preserve those, even if they're not, like you said, the best shots ever, but it's still cool for you. And it was a special moment to look back on the photo and then be like, wow, this is how I felt in that moment. I think that's super powerful. So I always encourage everybody to take photos, just buy an old point and shoot camera, buy anything, just take a lot of photos with your phone just to document moments, because you'll never have those moments again, and it's cool to look back on.
I feel there's a lot of crossover, and everything, all of it is kind of lumped into the same kind of thing between documenting it, whether it's through this podcast, through physical media, music. I collect a lot of CDs and records, and or even photography. It's all trying to just capture that moment in time. Again, whether we're hanging out talking or playing music or just a cool moment that happened with our friends. But it's all, for me, it's I can revisit all these and I can time travel, I can go right back to that moment and tell you that story and about what was going on that day and those things like that. So those are all, very cool to me, and these are all a lot of my favorite things. I do love having the pictures. I just wish I was, like I said, I had time to challenge myself to get much better at it. And so I'd be happy with that. But yeah, man. So I'm glad that you found that this is your calling, that you have a knack for it, and that Dad helped influence you and want to get out there and find this passion of yours. And but you said a lot of it was kind of nature stuff at first around school and things.
Yeah, it was pretty much all nature photography, and I just loved going out and just documenting sunsets and golden hour and all that stuff. And I remember the first time I went to Colorado and got to take photos of the mountains and stuff. I was like, this is just crazy, and I love it so much. So it really all started with the nature photography side of stuff. And then at college, I wanted to get into video work, and then so I had seen on our website, at our college's website, that someone had done video work for the school. So I just reached out to the marketing director who I was already working for to shoot photos with around campus. And I was like, hey, who shot that video? I was like, that's so cool. And he sent me the email, and I sent, his name was Ryan Hanlon, and I still work with him today, which is crazy. But I sent him an email, and I was like, hey, I would love to just talk to you about video work, and I really want to get into shooting videos. And the first video I ever shot was on a GoPro, Hero 4, I think. and I shot it like our welcome week, and I was like, here, check this out. And we got on a phone call, and he gave me a bunch of pointers, and yeah, it kind of just started from there. And I kept asking to do an internship with them in St. Louis because they were a St. Louis video production company, Route 3 Films. And he eventually said, yep, let's do it. So I interned with them for the whole summer. And then after that, I started my company in 2017. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So it's nice to like take that opportunity, take that, that risk of the email. And it's kind of like changed my whole life. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot to that, man. Like, I think... So I feel like so many people are afraid to just ask.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what's the worst they can do? Say no? Like,
that's like my mindset with everything. It's
right.
like I've asked so many bands to like shoot photos and just like, touring bands, most of the time you don't hear back from them, or they're like, oh no, sorry, we already have somebody, thanks though. But sometimes you get that cool moment where you're like, oh wow, they said yes, like I'll go shoot the photos, and like that's like a cool moment, So
well, and all and then you run into the situation too where say maybe you something happened, like they weren't able to do it, and then they're like, what about that Shawgo kid that asked us to be? It's like, and that kind of thing. It's like, and then it's just being in the right place at the right time, being prepared and ready to deliver whenever they called.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like all it takes is like one message to like change everything for you.
Right. Yeah, man. So I'm so that worked out, and like you end up you two you said you're still working together.
Yep.
And
yeah. So the office that we're in right now, we actually share together, which is really cool. So it's kind of cool. We get to like go on film shoots. They do Route 3 Films is a lot of like school and nonprofit work. So I get to work with them, and I work with a few other clients in St. Louis too. So
now for you, are they all like the same? The same kind of gratification. Being creative, whether it's a still image or a video image. I mean, is it all like...
Yeah, people always ask me which one I like most, and I can't ever decide. Like each day is kind of different. Like sure. I love video and I love photo for different reasons. It's like, but it's easy to like, you can tell stories really well with both things. So I think that I just love to do both of them. So I'll probably always do both. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's hard to pick. If I had to pick one, it would be
sure.
I'd probably pick photography because that was my first thing. But video is like so close. Like film is so close. It's like a close second.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then you was around that same time you started. You said you started your own business shortly after all that, and was your own when you started doing it by yourself? Was that what was like your? Was it just anything that came up, or were you specifically trying to do weddings or those kind of jobs? Or
when I first started, I did primarily weddings and family photos. So that was pretty much all I ever did. And then I would work with Route 3 Films during the weekend, things like that. And then eventually I really love the weddings and they're awesome. But I kind of just was like, I want to have more freedom on the weekends to hang out with my friends and family and things like that. So I transitioned to doing more corporate work, which I love just as much. And I still do a few weddings here and there occasionally, but I really love working with businesses. Small businesses is cool because it's like you get to help them achieve an awesome mission, and they're just like grinding out there just like I am.
Yeah. I always had people like suggest it, and I probably would have had a lot of fun with it, but it was at same time people would like tell me I should DJ weddings and stuff because I, such a fan of music, and I've done one, but as far as like doing it professionally, it was like the same kind of thing. I was like, I like having my weekends to do all the other stuff. I don't want to be booked. I mean, if you get out there doing them, you're going to be booked up quite a bit. Most of your weekends trying to keep up with all these. If you really want to be successful at it and make money, you have to put yourself out there. So, but yeah, I was like, I don't really want to spend every weekend at a wedding, but but yeah, I think it would be fun, and I do love going to the weddings. I just didn't want to do it every weekend.
Yeah, it's fun. I do love it. Sure. Like it's great. But if they were on like a Thursday, that'd be better. Nobody wants to get married on a Thursday.
But like I said, you were talking about working with these independent companies and things, and that's kind of the fun too. Like like you said, you're both hustling at the same time, and like it's fun to work together, create something bigger than yourselves together. It's like having that partnership like that to where you can continue to help each other grow.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I get to work with like the main company I get to work with in that kind of aspect is Main and Mill Brewing Company in Festus. So it's my hometown.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them right as COVID started happening. And I said, hey, I'd love to like just shoot a video for you guys, just to like, help with marketing and kind of just help you make it through this kind of thing. They're like, yeah, that sounds great. So we shot the video, and then like a year or two later, they reached out and they're like, hey, we need someone to, help shoot photos and help shoot videos and just help us with just marketing materials in general. So it all stemmed from like that first, just kind of like introduction, wanting to help people. And then it's like, it's cool to be able to help in my hometown too. So
yeah,
anchoring Main Street.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that I can get to that point too, like doing more for my hometown. Like, I'm very proud of what my hometown, in Wentzville, but we just, I'd like to someday maybe, I don't know, there's no entertainment out there. That's one of my biggest problems.
Yeah.
There's so many people, but there's really like not a lot for music at all. And I would love to like open a venue out there or do something like that. Like, have my own place and try to do something like that.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to like have like a music venue to like help with or operate.
Yeah.
It would be so much fun.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how we met. That may be a good tie into all that. Like, cause we met through music.
We did. Yeah.
We met through Fivefold.
Yeah.
Which, I guess, I can't remember exactly if it was which one at what show. I know I've heard a little bit of your story about, becoming friends with them and stuff. But I met those guys very early on. It's a lot of why I do the show. Also, is like I had these guys from high school. I started following around Exit 714 and Hollow Point Heroes at the time. And they, again, buddies from school, started playing original music down at Pops. Started going down there like all the time. And, like how a lot of those shows is 4 or 5 bands on a bill.
Yeah.
For, Road to Point Fest type of shows. And then so I get introduced to a couple other bands and start following that band around. And one of those being Fivefold at the time. And so it was just all coincidence that I ended up meeting them and just hung around. I saw like the last, 10 years or something. Now I've been at least 12 years. I don't know, whatever it's been, but
yeah,
it's been a long time. I've been friends with those guys and they're some of the best dudes ever. So
I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
So you tell me a little bit of how you came in to meet them. It's
kind of a cool story. So it's a little bit of a long story, but so Ryan, the lead singer, his mom had a cleaning business for a long time, and she cleaned my grandma's house forever. And we just kind of became friends. And then I would she would bring Fivefold CDs to me and stuff. And I'd be like, oh, like how's Fivefold going, when I would see her there occasionally and stuff like that. And kind of just always like knew Fivefold. And then I eventually just became a really big fan of the band and would always kind of listen to them. And then kind of fast forward to college. That was all kind of in high school. Fast forward to college, my buddy Wes, who I referenced earlier, we would just kind of always, be out taking photos, but he loved rock music too. So we'd always play Shine Down and 3 Days Grace and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, you got to check out this band Fivefold from St. Louis. Like, they're badass. They're so cool. So he fell in love with Fivefold too. So they kind of just fell into a rotation of playing rock music all the time. And they announced the show. I think it was March 2017. They announced their first show at Del Mar Hall. So I was still in school at the time. And I was like, oh, dude, we should go to that show. And then we were kind of sitting there and what if we just asked them to do photo or video work or something like that? So I reached out with a message to their Facebook page. And I was like, hey guys, me and my buddy Wes would love to come out and do videos or do a video at your show at Del Mar Hall. And we don't really have anything to show you, but we promise it'll be cool. And they were kind of like, all right, cool. Yeah, come on out and just, we'll give you a chance to come hang out. So we went there, and me and Wes both had done photo work. So we were like, oh, let's just crush this video. So we get there and we just filmed the entire day. And it was just such a cool experience. It was my first experience being backstage at a show, and it was Del Mar Halls had just been built. So we were just pretty stoked on the whole thing. And I remember we shot the videos the whole day, and then we drove back to Jacksonville and started editing. I had never edited a video before. So I was watching YouTube videos about how to edit on Premiere Pro and things like that. And then we turned around the video in a week and sent it to them, and they were super stoked on it. So it was a cool first experience. I think that was probably my 3rd time seeing them live. But it was really cool and kind of just like getting to be like on that backstage thing. And then fast forward to December, that's when they did the farewell show at Delmar Hall. So we recorded that, did all the video at that, got some kind of cool intimate moments backstage. And then, that was kind of it. I was pretty bummed. It was like one of my favorite bands. And they were calling it quits in 2017. I was like, damn. I was like, this sucks. And I was kind of just getting to know the guys and stuff. And so it's just like, it's kind of like a sad thing, but they started Steeples. Ryan and Derek started Steeples, and they needed someone to do a photo shoot for one of their EP covers. So I was like, oh yeah, of course. I would love to come and like hang out with you guys. And it that was in, I think, like April or something like that of 2018. And then I graduated college in May that year. So I kind of just I was like, I have like a bunch of free time to start the business. I'm just only doing weddings, so it's weekend. So I kind of just became a part of Steeples. On Sundays and Thursdays, we would do practice at Derek's house, shooting content. We would travel to do shows, played like Iowa and did some other shows, played in my hometown or my home college town of Jacksonville, Illinois, which was cool. So just did a bunch of content with them. That's kind of how I really became friends with Ryan and Derek. And in like 2020, Fivefold kind of started doing stuff again together. Right. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is going to be cool. And they put out Deer Insecurity in 2020. And then after that, it kind of just was like the vibes were good and everybody was pretty stoked. And like they just started writing music, playing some shows, got to travel with them. And it just kind of became like I was always hanging out with the guys and really became like some of my best friends. And they're like brothers now, which is cool. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of cool how it's all worked out. And now I'm just kind of part of the camp and get to help out with shows and doing graphic design stuff for them and photos and video work and helping them with social media and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's a long story, but it's a pretty cool, like full circle moment. Yeah, man. I love that you were a fan, then you became a friend, and now you're a member of the band pretty much. Like, like a kind of like family. It's pretty sweet. Right. Yeah. So, and that's what, they're obviously, like I said, they're great guys and they're very good about, welcoming people in to their circle. Yeah. And, most of the time when they do, people stick around. It's like everybody's been a part of the family for a long time. So, yeah. But yeah, man, I've been having a lot of fun with those guys for years, and I'd love to see the continued growth. Like I was saying, kind of feelings. I was super bummed when they were calling it quits, for a little while, and then but I was super glad they came back and doing some new stuff. And one of those newer songs was Hindsight. Yep.
Don't want no one-hit wonder. I wanna live my life just like a song, so when I'm gone there I'll sing a melody that stays forever young. I lie awake in my bed just freaking out. It's just a young man's dream. I tend to doubt more than I hope, but something keeps me hanging on. So don't you dare blink. This life is shorter than you thought it was. Call me crazy, but I think we were made for so much more. When all I see are all our people trading in all their dreams for fears, and they make believe that they are happier here. But that day we all look back at it, wondering what might have been. If you could do it again, who would you be? If this is just a young man's dream, like keep me young forever. Don't wanna catch myself waiting around for something more, can't afford to waste my time. Not your story, it's mine. Too many years left on the sidelines. Don't you dare blink. This life is shorter than you thought it was. Call me crazy, but I think we were made for so much more. When all I see are all our people trading in views, and they make believe that they are happier. Eventually we all look back at it, wondering what might have been. If you can do it again, do what you'll find. If this is just a young man's dream, they keep me up forever.
And you helped them create the visuals for it all.
Yeah, that was a really fun project.
And when I got to be an actor
I
on
was gonna
your,
say you were in the music video. Yeah.
So like that was one of my first actor credits. I'll put that on my IMDb page, and
Hell yeah. Yeah, that was cool. That was a fun shoot.
yeah, so that was a great day. Just making that come to life. We did a couple of different settings, and then got to eat some barbecue, and that was a good day.
That was a good day. Yeah, that was a cool project. So that was for we played that one without, like, the idea was to do, like, that was March 2022, I guess. And that was at Old Rock House. That show was like kind of like one of their first headline shows back.
Right.
And in St. Louis. And we were like, it'd be cool to premiere a music video. So like we got like Hindsight, they got it all like really like quickly done and produced and stuff like that. And then we were like, let's shoot this like awesome music video. So we filmed like out at Derek and Nicole's property out in Washington, Missouri. And then we filmed at like 2 different locations in St. Louis. And then we had that really long day where we filmed like it was like a Saturday where we filmed from like 7 a.m. all the way until like the evening time, where we did a bunch of cool shots all around St. Louis. So that was a cool project. And that was like, I remember that moment of like, it was like Fivefold was about to go on, and like the lights went black, and then the music video came up.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is so cool. Like, it was just cool to sit there and like watch. And then at the end of it, when the step back painting is revealed and everybody cheered, it's always like a cool memory that I'll remember for a long time.
Yeah.
It was sweet.
So is that your, you'd done work with Ryan, like I said, making films and stuff, but is that your first real take into making music videos?
Yeah, that was like the first really deep dive into like I had done a few music videos. Like I shot one forever ago for City of Parks back in the day, which was really fun. I love those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
And but yeah, this is like my first one where it was like, like a story, and it wasn't just performance shots. There was like a story to tell with the visuals. So it was a pretty cool learning moment for me. I think it turned out pretty well. So
yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. And you can find it now on the Fivefold YouTube page and all that. So get over there and click subscribe and follow along with those guys if you haven't already. And but if you're listening to this and you're a friend of mine or Alan's, I'm sure you are already well aware. So, yeah, man, I just think that's super cool that all that worked out. And was that your also that Del Mar Hall show? Going back to that, was that your like first kind of take into concert photography? Was that a newer thing at the time?
Yeah, that was still pretty new to me. I didn't really know. I didn't really have like the right camera gear to do concert photography. And but yeah, I mean, it was still really cool and it was awesome. But yeah, just like that feeling of being backstage and being there for sound check, and we were like, dude, this is crazy. This is so cool. It just felt like such a surreal moment to be there. And they just built Del Mar Hall too, so that was pretty cool. Like a brand new venue. But yeah, that was like kind of the first time, and then I was kind of hooked. I was like, I have to shoot concerts. Like I love like music settings. It's so much fun. So
yeah, I agree. I think just I love being there as a fan, but like I think like there's a lot of fun. It's just like that. I guess maybe it's the challenge of it all too. Like there's so many moving parts to it.
Yeah, and
trying to capture, the cool drum solo or guitar solo or whatever, like trying to document those moments, and then you trying to maybe snap some photos of fans like losing their mind, that they're seeing their favorite band. And, there's just like a lot of like really great visuals that can be created.
Yeah, it's like it's a really special too to be in like that photo pit. It's like a really unique spot. You're like, the stage is right there, just the artist is right there, and then you have the fans. Just like you probably have like a couple feet, and that's about it. And you have the fans just losing their mind, and the artist right there, and it's cool to be in that energy pit. Like where like the energy collides and stuff like that. It's crazy to like look at all the fans being so stoked, but then you look at the band members and they're just like stoked to be there too, kind of thing. And
we're blessed that Fivefold and some of these guys are entertainers in the sense to they always want to bring something special to the show. There's always you got your lights and your pyro or your smoke, and you know there's always something special about it. They're not just up there playing. There's always trying to elevate their game and stuff. So
yeah, it was cool for the family reunion show that we did in November last year. It was really cool because we did like the kabuki curtain drop, which was really cool. We were all super stoked on that. We've like talked about that for years now. And we were like, let's just make it happen for this show. Like, let's just do it. And so we made the kabuki drop happen, which was just like, I love that. Like when concerts have that moment, like the curtain drops and it's like, it's perfect.
I can't remember exactly now why. I think I was out of town or something, but I was unfortunately missed that one. And of course it's like one of the best ones, like, it was Copper View and Discrepancies. And like,
it was so much fun.
All my homies. So it's like, I would have loved to have been there for sure, but I can't exactly, I don't know, I'm terrible with some of that stuff, but there was some reason I couldn't be there. Yeah. And, so I was bummed about that, but
yeah, there will be more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Got June 21st at Pops. Got to do that plug.
Yeah, Bill Murray.
Yeah, Bill Murray. Bill Murray. It's gonna be sweet.
It's such a funny name to say. Like, it's just like,
I love Bill Murray. Yeah. Do you listen to them?
I don't know the band. I just think makes me laugh that that's their name.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're like one of our favorite bands. We always listen to them, so that'd be a cool moment.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the podcast. I think that's another fun thing about what you do. You've been at it for quite a few years now too.
Little inconsistent, but not too bad.
Right. But I think I'm glad you always come back to it. It's like, even if you take breaks and that's one thing for me. Like, I feel I'm not always like, one time I was doing a lot. Like, I was doing like 3 a week or more, sometimes 4 or some. I think one week I did 5, and I was just like obsessed with it for a while. Yeah. Like, I was just a madman. And but I was also seeing a lot of great results from it. So that's what also motivated that. It wasn't like I was seeing. I was networking throughout the city, meeting all kinds of incredible people, and that like spread very quickly at a time when I was like very early on, still pretty early on in the show and stuff. So, so that felt good, seeing those direct results, but it also kind of burned myself out. But I was doing that. I know. And somebody told me it early on, like I was talking to Devin Allman, and he who's gone on to great success and everything, but he was saying when he was hitting the road as a singer-songwriter and stuff, like he was asking for advice, and somebody told him just to keep your foot on the gas, and because as soon as you lit up, there's somebody behind you that's going to be hungry for it and pass you up. And so that, he told me that, and that kind of resonated with me, because that's especially at the time where I was like already worked at this rate, and I was like, well, now I got to keep it up, like, kind of thing. So I did that for like 3 years, like, and I worked, tired, played hard, like Derek says, and all those guys, and but it got to the point where I was like, I can't keep this up anymore. So I dialed back to 1 a week. But I think just being consistent, it goes a long way. Just like there have been weeks I've missed, but so real life happens.
Yeah, it happens.
And I don't feel like anybody's banging my door down, needing more reps or anything. It's like, there's plenty of back catalog if you want to revisit.
If you want to check them out. Yeah.
But I love seeing what you're doing and your take on podcasting, and that your show is called To the West and Back. Yep. And you kind of did, we went opposite. I started with a co-host, and Chris left about a year in, and I started doing one myself, but you started by yourself, and then about a year in you got co-host, right?
Yep.
So Nick's been doing it with you for a little while now.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a couple of years now together. And yeah, it was cool. I mean, I started it because I was like, oh, everyone has like a cool story to tell.
Sure.
So I was like, I just want to like talk to my friends. I was like, I have so many friends that are just so cool and like doing amazing things. And I was like, people just need to hear these cool stories, and you can always learn stuff from, other people's experiences. So I was like, ooh. And I remember like I did a trip out west. I flew to Seattle and drove back with my buddy Cody all the way from Seattle to St. Louis. And I took photos the whole way, because we were stopped at like Yellowstone and stuff like that. And I just got home and I labeled the folder like to the west and back. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then a couple of years later,
That'd be a good name for a podcast.
A couple of years later, I was like, I don't know what to call this podcast. And I was kind of like looking around like Google Drive, and I saw that folder and I was like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. So yeah, I started that, and I started it, and then COVID happened, which was kind of, I just started doing some online or like virtually and stuff like that, which was cool. And then, yeah, I kind of like did the first season, and I was kind of like, you know what? I'm tired of doing everything like by myself, because everything with the business was all by myself and things like that. And I was like, oh, I'll see if my buddy Nick wants to join. And he was like, yes, I would love to do that. So he joined, and we've done some cool episodes together. We're not super consistent with it. It's just something that we like to do when we have time for it. And it's kind of cool for us, and other people really seem to enjoy it as well, which is nice. But yeah, I love just talking to people about their story, because everyone has like these really unique aspects of their lives that we can all learn from.
Yeah. What do you consider like, there's definitely photographer people, you've had some musicians, just these are friends of yours and interesting people around town. I feel like it's almost like elements of like a self-help, almost like there's not like not that it's like fully on it, but there's a lot of inspiring stories for sure, where it's like people, and it's like, it's cool to hear those moments of people like, and I know you and Nick get a kick out of people, your guests say these lines, and it's like, what is it like? It's just like great lines that really resonate to what life and what are the struggles that we all kind of run into and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool moments like that for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you feel like, I mean, obviously I don't think some of that stuff's not, planned, but it became that, I think.
Yeah, I think it did. It was like a lot of deep questions is typically where we like to go with it. I remember when I started out doing it, I had like these very, strict questions, and I would always kind of be like glancing at that and trying to ask those questions. And then as we've kind of evolved with it, we kind of we go in and we kind of ask the person, we're like, what do you want to talk about? Or like, what's some like deep themes in your life right now that are really like affecting you, or that you're coming through, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just turned into that, because people always, I feel like, seem to like that kind of thing, to hear what other people are going through and how they've overcome those things. Mm-hmm. And then Nick and I like to do a card game from We're Not Really Strangers. It's like a friendship deck, and there's like a bunch of different, there's like 3 different categories, and they're all a bunch of different questions about just like deep friendship questions. You can like answer those about each other, and vice versa. And we always love doing those. So yeah, it's cool. It's just, I like to be vulnerable with it, even though sometimes it's kind of hard. You're like, I don't really want to share this on a podcast, but like when you do it, it feels better, and you're like, this is good for me.
Sure.
It's very cathartic, as we always say.
Do you listen to much podcasting? Like what kind of influenced that idea, wanting to do this?
I always listen to the Tim Ferriss show. Okay. Tim Ferriss is like one of my favorite people to listen to. He always has cool people on there, like Seth Godin, or I'll have like Matthew McConaughey, and there's just like a bunch of different random people that he always has on. And I kind of got that idea of like, oh, like he asks like pretty deep questions, but they're mostly questions he's asking things to help him in his life. So it's like, like that's kind of what we do. We're like, oh, like that's kind of like something we're thinking. Like, how does that feel to you? Or like, are you going through the same thing? And I feel like it just kind of works like that.
Yeah, there's a show and guy that kind of like inspired me to really wanting to do my own thing too. But Ryan Sickler, he was doing a show called The Crab Feast with Jay Larson, which is kind of where my jumping off point for podcast years ago. And I loved what they were doing. That it was a storytelling show, 2 comedians talking to a third comedian typically. And but Ryan split off after several years and started his own thing, and he's been doing the show called The Honeydew, and he gets a lot of comedians talk. His tagline is highlighting the lowlights, and they get into some dark stuff, you know, some obstacles that people have overcome in their careers, and some of them are very heavy, and then, you know, typically Ryan just kind of helps them find the humor in some. I mean, obviously they're all comedians. They all they laugh about a lot of the stuff, but it's, you know, so there's some of that, like kind of taking the power back, like on some of these, like, you know, difficult moments, you know, where you can find the laughs in there too about it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I agree. I think as a listener, you know, and talking about, like, I mean, when I was losing my mom to cancer, like I talked about it quite a bit on the show. Just like, I didn't want to make it all about it, but it definitely come up. And it's like, for me, like even today, still talking about it, like helps, you know, me process it, and you know, it's still something I deal with. And like, so I think you know, those moments like that to work through it, even if it is on a podcast or whatever, you know, it's sort of a form of therapy, and or, you know, those kind of things, just talking about it with friends and stuff. So
yeah, it really is. It's very powerful just to like get those feelings like out in the open, and just like, so they're not all bottled up inside of you. And also, you know, everyone's going through hard stuff all the time. So it's like, it can kind of be like, okay, it's okay to talk about this and show people that it's all right to open up and be vulnerable, which I think is like I know, like, it's a very, new topic, you know, opening up and talking about your mental health and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool that you can kind of find that outlet through a podcast.
Yeah. Ryan talks about it a lot on his, like that it's like this generation, you know, it's like it was kind of like he grew up with his father, and I feel like the same a lot about my father, like didn't really talk about feelings at all. You know, like it's just like, so all this is kind of a newer wave of like with our generation, like actually discussing these things and mental health and different, you know, things that cause these problems and stuff. So we can try to work through it and become, you know, better people. Yeah. Not just bottle it up and deal with it that way.
Yeah, because I think if you bottle it up, then it just kind of eats away at you, and you just, you know, sometimes I feel like it just kind of, for me, if I don't talk about stuff, it just like makes me a different person. Like I'm not as happy, or, you know, I'm always, you know, not as present in certain moments. It's like if you talk about it and just get it off your chest, it's out there in the open, and it's a lot nicer.
I agree. Yeah. But yeah, man. So you, again, there's couple different seasons up there now. You can listen on all your streaming platforms, and you have the official website.
Got a website and everything,
yeah. So you can follow along there too, and to thewestonback.com, right?
Yep.
And then
it's perfect.
Click subscribe, follow along, and we haven't put out a new ep in a little bit, so you guys talking about getting back. I know. You said Nick had a child recently, so he's, you know, being a new dad still, and
his kiddo is about 2 years old now, which is really cool. But yeah, it's been cool. I mean, we kind of, like I said, we do it for, you know, people like to listen to it and stuff like that, but we really do it for ourselves as like that. Just like an outlet to talk to each other and stuff like that. And and sometimes, you know, we just have those conversations together, and we're like, we should have recorded that. Like that should have been podcast episode. But sometimes, you know, we'll travel together and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think we'll be back. We just, we'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, man, hopefully we'll get some new apps on the way. And, but like I said, I had fun going through some of the back catalog recently, and catching up a little bit.
There's some cool stories in there. Definitely some good info.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Derek's.
Yeah, Derek's episode was so good. That's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, Derek Husky, a Fivefold. Especially like he mentioned on there, like being, you know, in the band, typically a lot of times he's asked to be a member of the band on the show. So he doesn't really get the spotlight on him. So it was fun to hear him just tell his story.
Yeah, it's cool to get like that spotlight just on you know, like with the band scenario, everybody's talking and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like one of our favorite episodes that we've done. So
yeah,
definitely check that one out.
Yeah, man. But what's you know, you said it's just kind of a hobbyist thing for fun for you too. But do you have are there goals still that you see for that project, for the podcast? I mean, do you have like some dream guests still to check off the list? Or
I think it's cool. I think it's also like one of those things where it's fun to see like just like what you can attain, you know, like what kind of people you can have on the podcast, like how far can you go with it and things like that. So I think if we got back into it, being more consistent, just trying to get some cool guests lined out for it, and really just anybody, you know, it doesn't have to be anyone that's like super uber famous. Like everybody has a cool story, which is kind of like our purpose too, of like, you know, not trying to get like just like famous people all the time, or like people that are known, just like some kind of people that are maybe don't want to tell their story, or they don't tell their story online very much, but they're kind of like, see, this is a cool platform to tell that. So that's what I like about it. It's just, we can all learn from people's journeys.
Yeah. You know, obviously you guys can, you know, whatever works for you guys, but I do find it interesting, like, you know, as far as like scheduling wise and things, like, there's, you know, like, Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, they do like that Two Bears, One Cave show together. Well, they live in different cities now, and Bert flies to, I think they're in Austin area. I think that's in Texas, and he'll fly down there once a month, and he'll record 4 episodes of the Two Bears, One Cave with him over a weekend, and then they just release them out and stuff. So I think that stuff could help, like something like that for help with you guys. Like, you know, just designate something like that at a certain time. Like, let's just record a couple, and because I know you're both busy professionally too, you know. So
so that's a good idea. Yeah, we've talked about that. We're like, we should just like try to do like 3 episodes in a day or 4 episodes, something like that. Just
especially if you're not trying to do it live, or you're not nothing's like really like you're not pushing certain events or dates or certain things. So that kind of thing might help with your consistency, just to record a couple when you do have a free time. Yeah,
for sure. So I think we'll get back into it eventually. Yeah, I always like to do it, so it's fun.
Yeah, man. What now as far as photography, and like, you know, do you have is there still stuff that you like to see accomplished with that? Like, I mean, obviously you're already getting to see a little bit of the world with the camera, and getting to travel a little bit and shoot some weddings and different things. And but where do you what would you like to see? I just like putting people on the spot to say something, because like it's fun to see, you know, maybe we look back on this in years and like that, man, it's funny that was my goal then, and like, you know, and now it's
like I've achieved it, or I could do that still, kind of thing. So for me, I would say I would love to like shoot some documentaries, like some full length films would be really cool. I think that would be pretty awesome. And then it would be cool to go on tour, you know. Got some Fivefold shows coming up, so that'll be cool to get some photos and stuff like that. And I like it, but a documentary would be really cool. Like just like, I love music documentaries.
So you think it'd be more of that route?
Yeah, so I think that would be kind of cool to branch off into that. And
do you have a favorite you watch?
I just watched Jason Isbell's documentary on HBO.
Yeah, I still gotta watch that.
Which was super raw and like so good. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. I want to shoot stuff like that.
Does that like you watching that? Do you just like get pumped up? Like, man, I gotta do this anymore now. Like,
I was like, I want to go and like just like I like can see the vision of like different documentaries and stuff like that. But yeah, Jason Isbell's was really good.
Yeah, I gotta sit down and watch that. He's one of my absolute favorites. And
he's so good.
He's coming to town Father's Day weekend.
I saw that. Yeah,
playing out in Chesterfield at
Open Iowa. I have to go. I don't really. I really only knew like the Vampire song by Jason Isbell.
Oh,
and
really?
then I was like, because I just want to watch the documentary, because Cheney told me to watch it, and he was like, you'll love this. So I sat down and watched it, and I was like, damn, that's so good. It's like you feel like so connected too. You're like, I feel like I know this person now, because they were so vulnerable in that, you know, in that documentary.
Well, if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to listen to his record, Southeastern. It's one of the best things in my opinion. Like,
nice. Check it out.
He doesn't hardly have a bad song, but that record in particular, I find that was like my big introduction to him, like as especially as a solo artist, you know. But that record and John Moreland's In the Throes like came out the same day. So for me, like those two go hand in hand. and they're two of my favorite records of all time. Like, so
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
It's kind of weird that they came out the same day. And,
Yeah, that's cool.
But his, if you know much of his story, I think there's a lot of themes in that record of him dealing with sobriety and stuff. There's a lot of those stories kind of come through in his writing. So
Yeah, they really dive into that in the podcast and like his whole backstory and stuff. And it was cool. I was like, I want to watch that one again, but highly recommend that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And his wife's a badass too. I know she was in there. Amanda Shires, she's a great songwriter and player and everything. She's very talented at what she does too. And,
For sure.
and the High Women, she's also in that group. If you haven't heard of them, they're a fun group.
Nice. I'll have to check them out too.
It's like a super group with Maren Morris and Brandy Carlisle. And so it's a fun little project that they did. But yeah, I remember they were on Stern Show one time, several years ago now, and Jason's just there playing guitar in the back, and I just kind of think it's funny. Like, obviously he's not about him at all for that project, but it's like, here you have one of the greatest songwriters of our generation just sitting back there playing guitar.
Yeah, it was like playing band. Yeah,
nobody even
cool.
Nobody even introduced him at all. Like, it wasn't like, oh, hey, here's Jason. It's like, so that kind of thing I think is cool about him, that he's like, support. He wants to, he's just being there to support his wife.
Yeah.
And it's all about, the girls and not about him at all. So I think that's a cool moment.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully I can get out to the Chesterfield Amphitheater for that show, because I looked it up as soon as I was like, oh, is he coming to St. Louis at all?
Sure. And if you're not super familiar, there's a ton of great St. Louis locals on that bill too. My buddy John Henry puts that festival together and stacked Sleepy Rubies, Funky Butt Brass Band, Hillary Fitz, Maddie Shell, Matt Jordan. I mean, just like a really solid support on that festival from a bunch of my favorites from around town. So Beth Bombara also on that, and
nice. I'll have to go check that out.
Just so if you're listening and you're thinking about getting tickets, grab them and go and have a great time. That's a really cool amphitheater out there too. Like, it's just
I love Chesterfield Amphitheater. I saw Phoebe Bridgers there.
Oh, nice.
That was so cool. It was awesome.
Yeah. I've been to a couple of really nice shows out there. But yeah, Blackberry Smoke's also one of the headliners, and it's gonna be a fun weekend for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. St. Louis got some cool music festivals going on this year.
Yeah, we're getting. I bought tickets to Evolution Fest also. I'm excited about that.
It's a crazy lineup. Some cool headliners too.
Yeah, like very. I like that these kind of shows, like where it's kind of an eclectic blend. I got your Black Keys and Black Crows and Ice Cube and Sugar Hill Gang and Ben Harper, and it's like very mixed lineups.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. I'm excited.
Excuse me.
But yeah, I'm excited. That's gonna be cool. And it's got some Brandy Carlisle, which will be nice.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
Still getting over this allergy stuff. But yeah, man, I agree. I think there's a lot of really great things for St. Louis music happening, whether it's nationally or locally. I mean, we got a lot of really special things happening with our own community with music, but I love seeing these, especially like I mentioned with Open Highway, having our locals supporting these and putting them in front of the people showing up for Jason and maybe discovering their next favorite act. So it's like,
it's cool.
So I love that kind of thing too. So, yeah, man, I got a couple of questions I've been asking, and get your take on these, and hopefully get to know a little bit more about Shawgo.
Let's do it.
Always like to ask, like, say someday you have your own action figure. What would you like to see as your accessories to go with your action figure?
Well, probably a mountain bike. I love the mountain bike, so that'd be kind of cool. And obviously, got to have like a cool camera, maybe a film camera. That'd be kind of cool.
Is there a certain one that you always like dreamed about having, or?
I don't know. Like Trek bikes are cool. I think that'd be cool. Like full suspension. Like there's some crazy expensive bikes that I'll never buy, but they're.
What
crazy.
about for camera?
For camera, maybe like a red camera.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be kind of crazy. It's like some cool cinema cameras.
Yeah.
I just got a new film camera the other day, so that's kind of cool. Get to kind of dive into the film photography world.
Yeah. So you develop yourself, or you?
No, I just take it to. I need to like make like a setup. I need to learn that. That's like if I ever like whenever I have a home one day, I'll probably have like a nice little spot to do some like a dark room for that.
I always I remember friends in high school took photography class and they learned some of that stuff, and I we had the dark room in the school there and stuff, and I was always kind of at the time it wasn't something I was thinking about, but I'm like now I wish I would have done that. It would have been, I think it could have been cool. But
yeah, I would love to learn that. That's like real art right there. It's like a digital camera. You can take as many stills as you want to and look at them right there on the camera.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, cool, that looks great. But like film photography, it's like, well, you won't really know if the shot's in focus or if the shot's there, if it's overexposed, underexposed, anything until you put it into, like the chemicals that it needs to be in. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
I do find that whole thing funny. Like the kids today of like, the instant gratification. They want to see, as soon as I snap the picture of them, I'm like, hey, let me see. It's like, and how like that's you got to have patience for that. You got to it takes time to, you got to, get back, finish the roll, and then finish. Then, it could be weeks or months or whatever, depending on how long it takes to finish that roll of film and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
It's so fun. You got to focus on your framing and everything has to be perfect. And it's crazy.
So, all right. Is there, is there something you think you can get into the Guinness Book of World Records for?
Probably the most photos taken, raw images. I'm an overshooter for everything, so I have hard drives just full of photos and raw images. So I think that I would probably make a run for most images on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Or a simple photo shoot. I'm just snapping tons of photos just to have a bunch of options to work with. So people are like, damn, you have so many photos. So it's we were there for 10 minutes. You have a couple hundred photos.
Sure. Now we talking about the documentary and stuff like that you want to get maybe into, but say the Shawgo biopic or something comes out, who would you like to see cast to play you in the movie?
Oh, dang, that's crazy.
You ever get you look like anybody, or?
I don't really. No one ever says I look like anybody famous.
Yeah,
I'll go with go with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
that's funny. So we'll put him in there.
There you go. Yeah, big fan of Ryan.
Yeah. He's a lot better looking than I am, but he'd be funny.
All right. Now, I know, and maybe I usually kind of ask this to musicians and stuff, but you get to work with a lot of great people. You talk between the weddings or film or various things, and but is there a dream collaboration for you? Is there somebody that you would love to link up with someday and make something?
Yeah, I think one of my all-time favorite bands is Paramore.
Yeah.
So if I could ever shoot even just shoot a Paramore concert, shoot photos at a Paramore concert, that'd be sweet. But if I could ever do their album photo shoot or just a photo shoot in general, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's
one of the bands that shaped my music tastes and just shaped me, and I would always listen to Riot on repeat in my car. I had a couple CDs and Riot was one of them. So yeah, they're one of my favorites. I would love to shoot a music video for them. So
all right,
that would be dope.
Well, you listening, Paramore?
Mm-hmm. Be hey, can you guys hit me up?
Don't worry, I'll tag them on this post and
perfect.
We'll make it happen, man.
Love it.
I do believe, in all that manifestation and just
for sure.
Just put it out there, man. People, you never know what could happen, and I think good. I believe in karma and everything else too. It's just that if we put good out there, good comes back. So,
for sure, 100% agree.
So I think if you keep working at it, I mean, I'm sure the right doors will open up some for those opportunities to.
That'd be sweet.
So
Got to get Fivefold open for Paramore 202. I'm gonna put that one out there as well.
Yeah. All right. Is there now this is a little bit more getting a little crazy, but say is there like a movie or a TV show you wish you were in? Like, is there a certain world you would think like that would be fun to be a part of, or anything like that?
Damn.
Like
That's a good question, Shane.
say like I know like a Star Wars comes up a lot. And
Star Wars would be cool.
Yeah, like
I feel like Harry Potter would be awesome to be in like Hogwarts and stuff like that. I just played the new Hogwarts Legacy game, and I kind of get like a little taste of that. So if I could be like inserted into a world, it would definitely have to be like the Harry Potter world. That'd be sweet.
Have you gone to the park?
I have not. I really want to though. It's like it's on the bucket list of things to do.
So I'm not even like into Harry Potter at all. Like I've never watched the movie or read the books. I mean, I'm sure I'd like them if I did, but I think I'm just a little older than that craze. I missed it, So like I think if I gave it a chance, I'm sure I'd enjoy it, but I just didn't really get into it when it first started, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
I was like a kid when it first came out, and I was like, we would always go to the movies and watch all the movies as they came out. So it was kind of cool to grow up with.
But I went down there and I mean, we had a lot of fun, even as non-fans. So I'm sure if you were a fan at all,
just be geeking out the whole time.
It was it was a really good time. Like we just went because we were at the park. We're like, might as well, we're here.
Yeah.
Plus, Stacy's little brother Sean went with us, and he's a fan, and he really wanted to get a butterbeer.
Oh, that's the butterbeers on the bucket list as well.
All right. So so I think he got a couple of those and had a good time. And but I mean, like visually, it's spectacular. I mean, like it's very cool to see this world come to life. And they sell magic wands, of course.
I know. I've heard. I was like, oh, that'd be so. I was like, I'm totally doing that when I go down there.
So I was enjoying watching the kids do their spells or whatever. So. It was pretty entertaining, man. It was a good time, and but yeah. So if you ever get to travel down to Universal and stuff, I mean, it's a good time over there for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's on my list for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun that weekend. I went down last summer to. Sean lives in Jacksonville, and we stopped in to visit him there for a little bit, and then then we went to Orlando and hit the park on one day, and then the next day we went to see me and Sean went to see Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, nice. That's sweet.
So yeah, that was a fun weekend down in Orlando. So back to back festivities.
Nice.
And the first time seeing Chili Peppers, they delivered. I've always heard. I'm not like a super fan. I do appreciate some of their stuff, but seeing it live, like I was like, oh yeah, like I get why people go on about how their live shows and stuff. It's really it was a fun experience, and but yeah. So, what's the farthest you ever traveled for a concert? Do you ever?
I went to one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to. We went to Summerfest in Milwaukee. Yeah. And Linkin Park was the headliner.
Oh, man.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's like probably one of my favorite shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, I never got to see Linkin Park. That one.
Yeah. They like never came to St. Louis in like the later years of the band. So I was like, it was like after my freshman year, I was like, I'm going. Like, we're going. So me and my roommate, we went up there. That was really cool. I went to Nashville for like less than 24 hours to see the band Camino at the Ryman, which was like a crazy experience. So we literally just drove down there, got into town at like 4 o'clock, I think. And then we were gone the next morning by 8 a.m. So it was pretty wild.
I did one of those trips with a couple of buddies. Went down to see Tyler Bryan and the Shakedown with Rival Sons at a room called the Canary, I think is. Same kind of thing. We just drove down, watched the show, hopped back in the car, and drove home. And it was awesome. It was a good party for sure. So, yeah, man. I appreciate you taking some time to hang today. You can get plugged in with Shawgo at shawgostudios.com.
Yep.
Follow along on the socials. You got your official Facebook and Instagram pages too. And again, you can see his work with Fivefold all over their socials and the Hindsight video. And what do you have like? Is there any like a sizzle reel? Or
I know. I keep thinking. I was like, I need to make a sizzle reel. I just haven't had a chance to edit that yet. But yeah, I need to get that together.
I think that'd be fun just to have a quick little clip of what all you done.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to work on that. Well, thanks for having me, Shane. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you do for the St. Louis music scene. And it was great to be on the episode.
Yeah, man. I'm really glad we made this happen. Like I said, it's been a long time coming, and hopefully we'll get to do another one soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.